Good morning, everybody. It is the start to another week, and we got even more snow out here again, so we're gonna actually have to get some of this stuff moved today. And we've got the TV 140 warming up. We've actually got our bale spikes on the front of this guy, so we're gonna get those pulled off and we're gonna get the bucket thrown on this thing so that way we can get some of this snow moved. And around in circles we go. Sorry I didn't get a ton of footage while we're actually plowing some snow here. It actually takes all your hands and legs to run this thing, so I got left hand on the steering wheel, then I have my right hand on our hydrostat. That's actually our kind of forward, reverse, controls your speed, and then the foot controls I'm using for the bucket. So yeah, this is just the tilt on the right foot, and then the left foot here is your actual up and down of the bucket. So yeah, it kind of takes everything to run this thing, and I need another hand to actually run the camera. We got our snow kind of moved out of our driveway here. We got the auger pulled over here with the tractor. Now we just got to get the auger shoved inside the bin here. Auger's not actually working, so we're gonna be taking this guy to the shop. Brought the auger inside the shop here, and then I actually just turned the heat up in the shop, ran inside the house and went and had lunch. And by the time I came back out here, everything is starting to move again. So kind of the good way you can look at this is just grab the belt here, you can watch it, and everything turns now. So yeah, definitely something was just frozen in there. I don't know if it was on the end or little water and ice got inside the actual auger itself, or kind of something inside the belt pulley system there, but we should be working again. So we're going to run this thing outside and see if we can get a little wheat moved. Well, the old red top Cummins N14 in the old Peterbilt here does in fact have oil. So the next thing we're going to end up doing is firing this thing up and seeing if it'll actually start. And I think the batteries are very dead. Now we just got to see if our semi is going to actually start up. Also, the pickup looks kind of tiny compared to the semi and trailer. Well, the Peterbilt still won't start. We got the battery charger on there now, so hopefully get it going in a bit. But I did actually get the Freightliner started, so that's a small victory for the day, so we're gonna get that moved out of the way. Well, that was a long adventure. We turned around and went about 50 feet, so at least it's out of the way now. We finally got the semi started. However, we have another problem now, which is there's too much snow on the tarp. So I'm actually gonna try taking the air compressor from the shop there up on the ladder right now, and then we're gonna try to just kind of blow a bunch of this snow off of here so we can actually get the tarp open so we can actually put wheat in there. Air compressor wasn't working great, so we just pulled out the good old broom and we're pulling off as much snow as we can. We got one load to town, but man, that Montana sunset is just absolutely beautiful. Just got back to the yard. It's about 5:30 and we're just getting started getting loaded again. I'll tell you what, some of these flashlights nowadays are pretty good. It makes it nice for when you're loading up when it's dark out. Just like loading during the day, except you just can't quite see as much. And we're just about getting done here, which is good because I'm getting very hungry. Except my lights on the side of the trailer quit working, so now I gotta get that figured out too. Well, just a nice quick little fix there. Just had to clean up the connection a little bit and we got lights again. So I'm gonna shut this bad boy off and I am gonna call it a night and get some dinner. It's the start to another morning. Let's see if the Peterbilt will fire up. Oh yeah, here we go. Start to another day. We got some more snow, but we are getting loaded up again here right now. Hopefully we get quite a few loads in today. And even though it is snowing, it is still pretty nice out here, all things considered. So pretty cold yesterday, but next week's looking really cold, so we're gonna try to get as much of this wheat hauled out as we can. And hauling in the winter always has its own little set of fun, interesting events. That's even just trying to get under the auger here. You can kind of see, well, like right here, my tires had a little bit of traction, and then we kind of go along. You can see I was spinning there and just kind of spinning to win it. You can see I got a little bit of some gravel up there as well too. So yeah, our bin yard's kind of got a little tiny bit of a slope to it, so it makes it really interesting trying to get into some of these end bins and get turned around out here. But to help with all of our spinning, there's a few different things we can have turned on here. So right now I have it locked in. We got our axle differential. That way our tires aren't spinning independently. They're kind of locked in place. You get a little bit more traction there. And then our ATC mode, I've got that into deep snow. You actually just hold that little button up and then it flips back down. But that's why that wheel spin controls light's blinking. So that means everything is kind of turned off for the wheel control spin. That way we have full traction, hopefully. That's another thing we should kind of talk about. Just because of our bridge laws here in Montana, you actually end up with a lot of open space on your semi if you're hauling a legal load. So usually what I do is one pile in the front and then about 2.5 piles in the back of the semi. And that way I'm legal on all my axles. So that's kind of the issue we have with this semi, is we can't get a ton of weight on these two axles. So that's why I only have one pile in the front here, and then I just put a bunch on the back of that thing because we have the 3 axles on the back of the trailer. So we could get a little bit more on here if we had a pusher axle on our semi. And I got to learn a little bit about having too much weight on those axles after I got a ticket about 2 years ago for having those axles actually overloaded. And then my least favorite part about this trailer is it's a lot of dead weight being a 50-foot triple axle. So yeah, I'm kind of stuck right now. I can't actually get up the hill to get under the auger, so I'm gonna throw the chains on to actually get this thing moved up there. And we're getting loaded again. Actually, I had to call the boss, and he came and gave me a little tug and pulled me up the hill here a little bit. So we might start kind of loading this thing backwards, just getting enough weight in the trailer here. Then we'll turn it around and load it normally. Everything was going pretty smoothly today until the semi decided to die twice on the highway. So yeah, now we're just trying to get it home. We did get it emptied, but it's kind of acting a little weird. It'll kind of sit there and run, and then it just, like, it almost dies for a second. So yeah, it might be a long, slow little crawl home on the gravel road here. Just kind of how this thing was acting weird and stuttering. We're wondering if it's this little fuel solenoid there, that little red guy. We've had some issues with that in the past as well. So that's kind of what we're thinking is the problem here. Either that or something with the fuel pump or maybe fuel lines. But for now, we're thinking we're going to order a new fuel solenoid, and hopefully that is the fix to the issue. So yeah, it's not fun only getting to haul for a day and a half, maybe not even that. I say pretty much just a full day. And yeah, we got to get that stuff hauled, but kind of hard to haul it when the semi doesn't run. Kind of a chilly, breezy little winter morning here, but we're gonna actually try to get the trailer unhooked from the semi today and try to get the semi inside the shop. And another fun part of winter hauling here is sometimes your tires can get frozen to the ground actually. So I actually have the brakes all disengaged on this thing, but we're not moving anywhere. So typically what I like to do after I get done hauling each day is I like to let the tires cool off a little bit, and then I'll move the semi again. That way they're not super hot sitting in one spot like kind of what happened last night here. And the only reason we had the issue last night is just because the semi couldn't drive itself, so the boss just pulled me into the yard here and we called it good. But I've got a chain hooked up and got the new hauling warming up, so I'm gonna get this guy pulled just probably a foot or two, and then we should be able to get this thing moved. Trailer's unhooked and we got the Pete inside the shop here, but I am like 95% sure it's that little fuel solenoid now, just because this morning it would not fire at all, and then finally I just kind of tapped that guy with a hammer and then it fired right up. So I'd say it's pretty safe to say that fuel solenoid is just on its way out the door. And there is our dirty old fuel solenoid. So it seemed like it was actually working pretty good, but some of the other stuff we have in there, kind of between that fuel solenoid and the actual fuel pump itself, we have this little plate that kind of sits in there like that. But inside this plate is kind of this little plunger. And when we pulled it apart, it almost felt like the little plunger was kind of getting stuck inside of here, and there was a little bit of rust kind of getting caught up in there too. So we're almost wondering if maybe there was just a little bit of some water in the fuel, and since we didn't use the semi much this summer, we're wondering if it kind of rusted our little plunger here in place, and that's why we're not getting very good fuel. So we got all that stuff cleaned up, and our new fuel solenoid should be here tonight. So hopefully we can get everything tonight, get it slapped back together. That way tomorrow we can haul some more grain and kind of test everything. Well, it's about 4:30 and our part just showed up. I got it slapped on here, so now I'm going to test this guy, make sure it all runs, get hooked back up to the trailer, and hopefully get loaded tonight. So it's already after 5 o'clock, so the elevator's already closed, but we're going to get this thing loaded, and then we'll see how it does in the morning. But we made it at least like 50 feet, so we're doing pretty good so far. Well, we got about half the semi loaded, then something in the top of the auger decided to break, so now I gotta get that fixed tonight too. So I don't think I'm gonna be having dinner for a little while. So a little ladder view from inside the shop here. We got the auger in here. We're kind of up at the top end, and actually all that happened was our chain just kind of came off the gears here. So hopefully I can just throw this back on and it should work again. So here I've got the old chain on the top and then new chain on the bottom. And you can see just how much that old chain actually stretches. You kind of see it's pretty close right about there, and then it starts getting kind of a little bit longer, and then it just gets way longer. So a new chain will definitely help this thing. And then this little tool, if you guys aren't sure what it is a chain breaker tool. So it just kind of clamps around the chain, and then this thing turns and it pushes a little pin down. That way you can actually kind of push out the pin on the chain itself. And we got the new chain on there, and man, that thing looks a whole lot better. So yeah, this thing should work just fine now, hopefully. It's a bit chilly, but it's a little bit chilly, but what a gorgeous way to kind of start Friday morning off here. End the week, just beautiful. Hopefully we get some grain hauled today. At least everything's working this morning though. And if you look really, really closely, you can kind of see on the other side of town, that's the other big elevator. And since I have a fancy automatic unrolling tarp, I don't even have to worry about untarping the truck. I just got to pull under the probe. So then they'll just be running the probe there, and they'll take a couple samples from inside the truck. And then our next stop is the first scale, and we got to hit this one with a little speed, so I'm not going to record it. And now we're sitting on the scale here, and everything works from these little scanning type cards. And then there's a little code reader in that thing, so it kind of knows who you are. And right now it's just taking our weight, so I gotta wait for that thing to show our gross weight. Our next stop is gonna be heading to the pit. Then sometimes I just stay in the truck, but most of the time I get out and chat because it only takes a minute or two to unload. And now we're all empty and heading to the outbound scale. So then it gets our empty weight, and that way it can calculate how many bushels we actually got on the semi before we dumped. And then we just wait for our ticket and we're good to go. Then we'll just hop across the railroad tracks, hit the highway, and we just keep going until the day's over or we run out of grain. Not too shabby of a way to end the week here. We got both bins sucked all the way down with the auger, so the next step is going to be getting the grain back and cleaning those out. However, next week is going to be cold, so I might not be hauling for a little bit here just due to the weather. And it was good. Our semi didn't die on the highway today, so that's always a small victory. And yeah, the auger didn't break today either, so not too bad of a little Friday.